caught up with Congressman André Carson from Indianapolis, who shared with us again the importance of voting to change public policy in America. So, Congressman Carson, every year you host a hip-hop think tank here at CBC. We know from the last election, young folks 18 to 29, a significant drop-off in voting. Do you believe that after the 2016 election and all things that we've seen, the young folks realize that they're going to have to be very much engaged and go to the polls for the midterms?
I sure hope so. Roland, you know these numbers better than I do. Political scientists tell us that millennials tend to be an unreliable voting bloc. They only participate in presidential elections because the attention is there. I think now what we're seeing through the movements of Bernie, through the movements of other people, media outlets like yours, educating younger people about the importance of getting out to vote. So I think that this disillusionment can be captured in a real way by a society that's more informed about the political process. That's why your efforts are so critically important. We're going to miss you this year.
Well, one of the things that jumps out, and I wish I was there, but I got to go to L.A. for a speech, but one of the things that when you talk about that, what we're seeing is the likes of Latasha Brown, DeWanna Watson, Adrian Shropshire, Collective PAC, who are really engaging folks and saying, you know what, we're not going to wait on campaigns to begin to mobilize folks. We're going to do it ourselves, and we're seeing that level of traction.
Absolutely. I'm seeing more and more young people wanting to run for office, wanting to do white papers for politicians. I'm seeing more and more voices like Tamika Mallory. I'm seeing Linda Sarsours. I'm seeing these young voices in the women's movement saying, hey, we're going to highlight the formerly incarcerated community, give them a voice, and let the other community know that just because you've been incarcerated or have been arrested doesn't mean you can't vote. And so I think that the way this movement works is that we have to dispel some of these notions and mythologies. There's no secret Illuminati controlling the government. We're the government of the people, by the people, for the people, and we have to take charge. Destiny's at our hand.
And one of the things that also I think has been very interesting is you have this folks are talking about folks who are challenging incumbents. We saw this with Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts. We saw this with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And the point that I keep telling everybody is, first of all, if you're an incumbent, first of all, you're there by virtue of the people. It's not a seat that you own. And so, frankly, if somebody wants to run against you, look, you run against them, put your record up against them. When Al Lawson ran against Alvin Brown in Florida, you know, he beat him. It was a tough race, but that's what happens when you're running.
The first race I ever ran for was a school board race. I lost. I was embarrassed. Every time I run, Roland, I have about 4 or 5 candidates who run against me, and I encourage that kind of activity. This is a democracy. No one owns these seats, congressional seats, council seats. It's about the people, and I think that the best term limits are elections. So if you're dissatisfied with your representative, vote them out. If you have somebody who's consistently there on your side, you may not agree with them 80% of the time, 90% of the time. If you agree with them 70% of the time, that's pretty good. But I think that we have to hold our elected officials more accountable. Sometimes people come to our churches, mosques, synagogues, they make promises, and then we put them in the office, Roland, and they vote against our interests. We can no longer have that. Society has changed.
All right. Always good seeing you.
Thank you, boss.
I appreciate it. Thanks.